I graduated from Washington State University with my degree in kinesiology. That was fired up from a passion for the greatest technology on the planet, these human bodies, these sensory suits we get to call home for such a short time. And so right out of college, I became a personal trainer and an expert in the fitness field, changing lives, taking on 10 clients a day. That evolved into health coaching, which I could reach more people from worldwide. And then eventually found myself on Mammoth Mountain one day with a couple friends during a blizzard, and basically went off a jump that I didn't know was there.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. As always, I have an incredible guest, which I'm very excited to get to interview this gentleman right here and get to learn from him and get to connect with, because I've been asking God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, right? I have been wanting to like deepen my spirituality. And I don't know if the audience has noticed, but the last 10 podcasts have been with people who've talked about God, energy, all of this stuff right here. And how else would you call it, right? Yeah, I don't know, but it's exciting. Before I introduce this gentleman to you, though, I just want to give a big shout out to all of you who have been leaving comments, reviews, and likes on all the major podcasting platforms, Apple, Google, and Spotify. And to those who have been watching on YouTube as well, thank you very much. And today I want to ask you for a small favor. I want to ask you that if you get something out of this interview, some type of value, some type of new skill, some type of new information, or the inspiration to go out and take action to make some progress towards your goals, or get rid of some mental block or some problem that you have going on, I want to ask you to please share this podcast with 7 to 10 people, since this is how we grow, this is how we share our message, and this is how we're able to motivate, inspire, and bless other men out there to change their lives and make some progress towards their goals. Today I have Charles Clay. He's an inner peace and healer, right? Inner peace coach and healer, neurokinetic pain relief specialist, founder of Freedom from Pain. Founder of Freedom from Pain and the Inner Peace Process. There you go. Charles offers the step-by-step guided inner peace for releasing internal blocks and process emotions and negative subconscious beliefs, which I'm very passionate about, that keeps people stuck. This guided process helps with healing deep-rooted generational wounds so they don't have to be passed down to our children. And Charles also offers the Laser Focus Method online training course to conquer procrastination, work smarter than harder, produce more while consuming less, and for life, freedom, and fulfillment. So I did my best, man. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate you, and you are welcome, Charles.
Hallelujah, brother. Glad to be here. And thank you for that extensive intro. I appreciate it, man. Happy to drop in.
Yeah, thanks. So on my last interview, I got this guy. He was talking about, he gave me an insight. He said that what if God is death, right? Like death or God or the universe or whatever. He's like, he's not able to hear. And what if like you have to, instead of, praying all day, you have to like show him, right, what you want. So like actually like write down and then like show him, right? Or do a vision board and then let him see it, or show him, or take action, like let him see you moving around and like, oh, like this guy is like doing some work, let me help him, right? So he gave me that insight, and then he told me to, because on the beginning I always ask people to share this with one friend, and he told me, man, don't tell people to share it with one friend, tell them to share with 10. So today I'm asking people to share this interview with 7 to 10 people. So yeah, I have a good feeling about it. But the first thing that I do with my guests, Charles, is I tell them to to walk us through their entrepreneurial journey in 75 seconds or less.
Nice. Cool. Well, start the clock. I graduated from Washington State University with my degree in kinesiology. That was fired up from a passion for the greatest technology on the planet, these human bodies, these sensory suits we get to call home for such a short time. And so right out of college, I became a personal trainer and an expert in the fitness field, changing lives, taking on 10 clients a day. That evolved into health coaching, which I could reach more people from worldwide. And then eventually found myself on Mammoth Mountain one day with a couple friends during a blizzard, and basically went off a jump that I didn't know was there and landed with massive impact on my low back. It felt like a lightning bolt hit me, and experienced the most intense physical pain I'd ever had. And my friends had already gone down the hill. Tried to yell to them, tried to call for them. They couldn't hear me. There's nobody else on the mountain. I looked at my phone, it's dead. So I had to channel my inner Spartan warrior just to click my board off and sit on it to slide down little by little, keel over and breathe deep for a while into the pain. And then eventually made it down the mountain to go see doctors and get the bad news from them that multiple doctors told me that I would need surgery or multiple surgeries ASAP, or I would never move the same again. So for someone that appreciates the human body so much, this was the worst news I could have gotten. And luckily, even in a fight or flight state, I was able to follow my intuition to a different path of self-healing. And in that path, I gained some really powerful tools and practices and some deep blessings on the self-healing journey that allowed me to open up a healing practice and get to help a lot of other people heal themselves and avoid getting surgery, or even those that have had surgeries, help them understand how the pain is a check engine light happening for them to prevent them from a major breakdown, and how to move through that with as much ease and grace as possible to the lessons and blessings in it all.
Nice. And healing, yeah. I like your message of you are your own greatest healer, and you can move from pain to purpose. But so you healed physically, right? But that's not the only thing that you help people heal from, right?
Right. Well, the further you look under the hood, I like the analogy of, the check engine light, because most of us are pretty good about getting our car serviced or changing something with our car when that check engine light comes on. We don't usually drive too far with that on. However, when it comes to these human bodies and we get a check engine light pain, we're usually resort to strategies of getting away from it, avoiding it, numbing it, taking pills, stuffing it, escaping from it in any means necessary, instead of actually listening to the messages from our body and improving our relationship with it so we can understand what needs to change, how it's happening for us, and what are the lessons and blessings in it. And so that's a game changer in itself. And that opens up a whole can of worms for the emotional component that's tied into pain often, as well as the metaphysical aspects behind pain. And these are things that often people overlook, and as to why they're experiencing physical pain and or even emotional pain. So when we try to resist something, it just persists, right? This can be energy in the form of emotions. So usually at a younger age, when we experience grief for the first time, or guilt or shame, this is a new experience that we don't know how to process. And so we oftentimes try to avoid it or develop strategies and coping mechanisms to not feel it. But that doesn't mean it goes away. In fact, it actually gets stuck as issues in our tissues, and will continue staying there and get poked and prodded at by people that trigger us, by, the a-holes that know how to push our buttons are usually our greatest teachers, because they're actually allowing that energy to come up again to the surface to be revealed and healed. And that can only happen if we allow it. So this was, I'll give you an example of, how a little bit deeper into that story. So there I was at home. I declined the offer from the doctors to get surgery. So I'm like, now what? I can barely crawl to the bathroom. I'm in so much pain. And so I literally had to sit with all the heavy emotions that I had been avoiding, which was like fear of not being able to ever move the same again. It freaked me out. Shame, not being able to even stand up straight, let alone get to work and do something productive. Grief that I hadn't fully processed from losing my mom at a young age, and all these emotions that I had been stuffing with sex, drugs, rock and roll, you name it. And this allowed me to finally surrender into that. And in a pool of tears, I gained massive clarity. Like once that passed and allowed that to move through me, then it was like, I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. That song literally came on. And so I set the intention during a meditation to receiving all to healing naturally. And during that meditation, a friend that I hadn't talked to in over 2 years reached out to me, sent me a text saying, hey, I heard your back is pretty messed up. Check out neurokinetic therapy. And this took me down a rabbit hole of the work of David Weinstock, who created NKT, and genius at figuring out how to get answers from the body through muscle testing. And this connected a lot of dots for me with my background, health and wellness, kinesiology. And so I got in touch with him and was excited to get my first session. So he set me up with one of his top students in San Diego, where I was living at the time. And I went and saw Christina. And I walked in looking like Shakira stuck in a mid-hip dance move. Like my hips were out to the left, my upper body was to the right. It was embarrassing. I was a mess. And that was representative of how out of alignment I was with my purpose at that time, right? Teaching health and wellness and training clients during the week, but then going out on the weekends and overindulging in all the things. So something had to give. And of course, the universe gave me a few like feathers. Hey, you might want to make some changes here and come back into alignment, but disregarded those. And then it's like getting hit by a brick from the universe, a bad hangover or some nasty consequences we have to deal with. And then if we don't make changes, then it's like, for me, it was the equivalent of feels like getting hit by a Mack truck, which is up on the mountain that day. And so that was to break me open and receive support and guidance on a path to self-healing. So when I showed up looking like out of alignment, she got me on the table and she tested muscle groups, right? Like my glutes. And she was like, your glutes aren't even firing. I was like, what do you mean my glutes aren't firing? Yeah, she would tell me to push down, couldn't, the signal wasn't getting there. So I was like, that's odd. I have huge glutes. How come they're not firing? She said, clench your jaw and retest. And we tested again, and all of a sudden they would turn back online temporarily. So my body had just told us that my jaw was the compensator, meaning like neurological traffic jam. So that signal, electrical stimulation wasn't getting to the core muscles and the glutes where it was needed to stabilize my spine. So no wonder I was walking around like Igor, a hunchback at Notre Dame. And because these muscles weren't even firing. So I had all these compensation patterns going on. So she's putting on these rubber gloves and she says, I know we just met, but I'm going to have to go in your mouth. I was like, what? You're going to what? She had a good sense of humor and she released my jaw muscles. And holy cow, it was painful. But right after that, it was like all of a sudden the neural signal could get to the big guns and my glutes are firing again. And we did this for a couple other compensation patterns that we cleared up. And I got off the table and I was standing up straight again. I was like, what? I need to learn this. I gave her a big hug and said, I'm going to see you every week. And I got in touch with David Weinstock and took all of his courses and became a neurokinetic therapist and went on to learn these incredible tools for self-healing. And this addressed a lot of the physiological aspects behind pain. And allowed me to help a lot of people on their journey and get answers from their body really quick and help improve people's relationships with their body. And so that began my practice. And then, that evolved into more international. So now I have clients all the way in South Africa, Australia, Canada, that I get to help take through this inner peace process, 8-week journey to uncovering, all the internal blocks that hold us back and some of the deep generational wounds that we carry in our tissues that keep showing up as check engine light or as pain. And this is all interconnected. So it's all interrelated, and it's been profound what happens when we release these internal blocks and address anything that's in the way of our natural state of inner peace. Instead of running from it, actually going into it, remembering that pain is energy and energy is information. So it's here with information to share something with us. And so then we can actually see it as a friend instead of a foe. And the more intense the pain is, the more important it is to make a change sooner than later. Something in your life needs to change to realign with purpose. So that's how, big picture zooming out, it's all happening for us. But it's hard to see that when we're in intense pain and we're in victim mode and we're like, why is this happening to me? And it drags out this long experience of suffering, when in fact that's a choice. And when we go into the pain and we have some tools like the inner peace process, like neurokinetic therapy, to understand how it's happening for us and get answers from the body, all of a sudden you feel like a new man. And this helped me develop the bulletproof core technique, which is the fastest way I've found to activate those deep core muscles when they're offline. And so I see a lot of entrepreneurs that come to me, have flown all the way from Australia to work with back pain that they've been experiencing chronically and feel like they're at the end of their rope. They've seen everyone that they knew to try to help with it. And they come see me. And usually in 1 to 3 sessions, we can get to the root causes. And oftentimes it has to do with the emotions, the metaphysics, and the physiological effects that are related to it. And so when we address all 3 of those, they feel like a new person and get off the table like I did, in full alignment again, and have a quick, 5-minute self tune-up that they can do to release those compensation patterns, and some tools that they can use for the rest of their life anytime they feel uncomfortable or triggered or going through an emotional experience. They have some tools for that, a step-by-step process to resolve it from the source. And so it's very empowering. And what's great is, on the other side of this inner work is like, hallelujah, a lot of dreams can come true. And this is literally like what I used to heal my abandonment wound early on, which is a generational mother wound that I'm sure so many people are familiar with, especially men, that I was able to heal that with the inner peace process. And I had to learn the hard way so that I could teach an easier way and simplify this for others. And had I not healed that, I wouldn't have been able to call in my queen and create a family and allow for all these dreams to come true. So it's really beautiful and such an honor to get to do this work, because once we release those internal blocks, people experience a lot of dreams coming true in a really accelerated pace. And that's, financially, when you release the weeds in the subconscious of I'm not worthy, or money blocks, or bad relationships that are running in the subconscious mind. As soon as we release those weeds, pull those out and plant some new seeds, then all of a sudden new opportunities arise in their experience, and more income can flow in. They feel better in their bodies, more freedom. They have tools to improve their relationship because they're becoming more intimate and understanding themselves more. It allows them to open up and be more intimate in their relationships, which allows for deeper intimacy and more sex magic and pleasure and bliss and all the good things in life. So it's always worth it, this inner work.
Yeah, 100%. And it never ends, right? Like the inner work never ends. And I just love it, man. Like everything is connected, right? Mind, body, spirit. You know, like if your knee hurts and you go to the doctor, they'll be like, oh, just take some painkillers,
Right.
put some cream on it, and you'll be fine, right? But,
Yeah.
but when in reality, you know, if they come to you, you probably find out that it's not their knee, it's probably their shoulder that is out of alignment, which
Mhm.
is which is making them walk like in a funny way, which is putting too much pressure on their knee, and that's what the
Right.
real cause is. But then you go
Mhm.
deeper than that, not only into like the physical, not only into the body, but also the mind and like the
Mhm.
spirit. So let's see, what can I ask? So like I want to,
Mhm.
so like I have like a little bit of like back pain in like my little back, in my
Mhm.
lower back. I think it basically because it's so much like squatting 300 pounds, like
Mhm.
3 times per week, or like you know, shoulder pressing. I think it's because of that. I don't know, right? I don't know. so
Sure.
so what do you think? Do you think
Yeah.
it's like
So first thing I always ask my clients is, do you want to heal this?
yeah,
And it seems like an obvious question, right? But some people actually have a story with the pain that they are not willing, ready, or
to let
able
go of?
to release yet. And because perhaps they view that pain has helped them receive love in a certain way or support or, you know, and so there's stories tied into the pain. So that's the first thing I ask people. And once they, yes, then we can dive into the metaphysics. And the metaphysics are, how our thoughts and our emotions manifest in our body. And so if we, like, for example, with low back pain, oftentimes our back represents our support in life. So if we're feeling unsupported, and low back specifically can mean a fear of money, like a relationship with money that might not be in harmony. And does that ring a bell? So,
Yeah, I think, yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, for sure.
mhm. And so you can think back to when this first started, right? When you first started experiencing the check engine light and the low back pain, and how your relationship with money was then, and how this stuff was coming up. And this might bring up some stories that are tied into it. And usually we adopt our beliefs from our parents, right? Especially around money and witnessing their relationship with money. We typically take that on. And so we do some deep inner work with that to release some of the subconscious blocks, and then bring in some affirmations so you can improve your relationship with not only your body, but with money. And so to clear some of those metaphysical blocks. And then we dive into the physiological aspect, commonly. So with your example, 80% of entrepreneurs that come see me with low back pain, this is a very common occurrence. Like 80% of my patients that come in, we test their six pack, might be firing strong, superficial muscles. But then when we have them draw their belly button in and I muscle test the deep core muscles, those usually aren't firing. And this is your transverse abdominis. These are your internal core muscles that help stabilize your spine. Imagine like an internal weight belt, right? Those should be firing milliseconds before you do any move, let alone adding weight and load on, right? So if those muscles aren't firing properly, and I don't care if you do sit-ups till you're blue in the face, if you're not getting a signal energetically from your brain to those muscles accurately, then other muscles are doing the work, right? And so a common culprit for that, common compensation pattern I see, is those intrinsic muscles are offline. They're not firing because the jaw oftentimes is a culprit. So if there's a neurological traffic jam, just like with me, jaw was blocking the glutes. Jaw represents our limbic system. So it's associated with our emotions, right? So oftentimes we carry, anger, resentment, even revenge, and all that's can be going on in the jaw. And then we wonder why we're jaw clenchers,
Hmm.
right? So this can be enough to create a neurological traffic jam. So we test for that. And that would be my hypothesis, because I see this very common. But it might be your diaphragm that's overfiring, or some neck flexors. We would find out with muscle testing. And then once we find the compensation pattern, say it's your jaw, I show you how to release your jaw. And then that opens up a window of opportunity to really engage and get that electrical signal back to your deep core muscles. And that's when I teach the bulletproof core technique, which is the best technique I've found to reactivate those deep core muscles, your internal weight belt. So by doing that and combining it with the expansion breath I teach, you're literally increasing your internal abdominal pressure and increasing the activation of your deep core muscles. So you instantly become stronger in everything that you do. So this decreases your risk of injury, helps you come back into alignment, and you apply this technique to your workouts, your lifting, and you'll see some huge strength gains as well.
Yeah, man, holy, like that's a lot of wisdom right there.
Yeah, it's a lot. I know it's like a fire hose. So I'm happy to slow down and break any of that down, but this is so common. Like so many people experience that low back pain. And usually that's the culprit that I see. It's not always the same for every case, but we muscle test for that. So your body gives us answers. And then once we just treat what we find, right? And then you're able to address the metaphysics and the emotional component with the inner peace process that I offer. And we can dive into that a little bit more, as well as the physiological aspect. And
let's dive into that a little bit more, but
yeah,
like, I don't know what to ask you in order for you
totally
to get you to like dive into it. So go ahead.
So I would argue that one of the greatest skills to have as an evolving human being is the ability to recognize and change negative belief patterns.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot 100%. Of these are running like, we can say, well, I'm worthy of lots of money and I'm worthy of, being a king and all these great things. And that's one part of us. But if there's a little part of us that still has this story it's holding on to, intertwined in the pain that happened to us at a younger age, that we created this story from, where, well, I'm not worthy, or I'm not liked, or I'm not loved, or I have to, do something externally to validate being loved by others. This is where these stories are created. Then those keep running in our subconscious and create upper limit problems. And those upper limit problems are like, you get new opportunities for new income streams or something, but then we F it up. Right. And it's because this part of us has still not been addressed. So it's like a younger version of us that needs some love, support, and safety. And so the most profound way I've found and developed to go into that and release it from the source is with the inner peace process. And it's a guided process I take people through, and it's dealing with the subconscious. So we go into you guide through the whole journey, and whatever first story comes up, whatever, experience happened to you, related and connecting the emotions that may be stuck or unprocessed in your body, where they show up in your body is giving us clues. And then the story that was created then about yourself. And so this ties a lot of it all together, connects the dots, so that then we can begin to bring in your higher self after parenting that younger version of you that created a story. Your higher self has wisdom to bring in not just new information, but deep remembrance of the truth. And by pulling those weeds through this process of negative subconscious beliefs, I'm not worthy, I have to win at everything in order to have love, or, whatever stories people are running in their subconscious. Each time you do this process, it goes to the source of that to release it and plant some new seeds. And so this is a really powerful tool, empowering tool to have, because anytime that we get triggered, anytime we feel uncomfortable, even if it's just some guy that cuts you off on the road, that if it triggers anger, if it triggers aggression, then that's something to take a look at, right? So now you'd have this tool, this inner peace process that you can take a step-by-step process through to go to the source of it. Where was the first time I experienced that? What was the story that was created then? and then how to reparent that version of you so that they feel safe again, supported and loved.
Hey, sorry for the interruption. Real quick, do you want to know how I've been using my podcast to build a multi-million-dollar network with over 100 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs, reach hundreds of my ideal clients with my message, coaching, service, and podcast, get invited to speak on 4 stages in the last 2 months alone, go to my own events and have over 100 successful entrepreneurs being willing to speak at my events, become a millionaire in 1 year, get mentored by multimillionaires, and achieve goals that I thought were going to take me 10 years to achieve in 1 year, and ultimately get unstuck and make quantum leaps of progress in my business and life with less than 1 hour of work just by being myself. If you answered yes to any of those, I just want to invite you to a free training showing you how I've been able to build a multi-million-dollar network that is helping me achieve bigger income goals faster with only 1 hour of speaking and just being myself. To be honest, I thought I was going to be a multi-millionaire, speak on stages, throw my own events, and live a successful, happy, and fulfilled life of growth and impact in 10 years from now. That seemed so far away, but my podcast has been able to help me do that in less than 6 months. I'm actually doing all of that this year at the age of 21 with my podcast. I'm reaching thousands of people with my message, my service, my podcast, my coaching. I've gotten booked to speak on 4 stages in the last 2 months. And on these stages, I'm going to be getting in front of hundreds of my ideal clients, making roughly around 15 to 30K plus per event. Not only that, I have a network of over 100 high-level, multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs who have all agreed to speak at my event. Getting clients is a problem of the past. I've gotten the opportunities to learn from billionaires, and I'm collapsing decades of time, and I'm literally achieving what I thought was going to take me 10 years to achieve in 1 year. All of this because I use podcasting as a networking tool, and I leveraged a rare concept called the cloak track. And I want the exact same thing for you. Just imagine where you could be in 1 year from now if you get this free training right now. That is why I'm inviting you to this training. On this short training, you're going to learn how a small group of purpose-driven entrepreneurs, authors, coaches, course creators, and speakers have combined podcasting with this rare concept called the cloak track to build a multi-million-dollar network, reach thousands of their ideal clients with their message, books, courses, coaching, make an extra $118,800, get booked on 10 stages, and build a successful network of entrepreneurs who speak on their stage, all of this in under 6 months. I'm going to walk you through the 4 steps to make this work. Step number 1, alignment. Getting clear on who you want to be, what you want to do, your goals, your purpose, and aligning all of this with building your podcast and your ideal podcast guest. Step number 2, leveraging the cloak track to find your ideal podcast guest and never running out of them. Step number 3, leveraging the cloak track to close an interview with anyone, no matter how rich, famous, or out of your league they may seem. And step number 4, the content machine. The content machine is the key to tapping into other people's audiences. And I'm going to show you all of those 4 steps. The link to access this free training is in the description of this video. Click on it and go watch this training right now so that you can learn how you can too build a multi-million-dollar network that helps you achieve bigger goals faster and with less effort. Note, this training is only available to 18 people, so act right now, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Bye-bye.
And in doing that, you can literally witness as that energy finally metabolizes in your system. And so it's really profound. And that frees up a lot of new opportunities that can flow into your experience to allow for more abundance, more freedom in your body, deeper intimacy in relationships. And so it's across the board, the results are profound. And it's been, the greatest tool I've discovered and refined over the past decade to releasing subconscious blocks that keep us stuck.
That's amazing, man. Do you know who Garrett J. White is?
Gary G. White?
Garrett J. White?
Garrett J. White. No.
Well, he talks about body, being, balance, and business, like the 4 core areas of life. And, he has like a tool called the stack that helps you identify like the story that is keeping you, running in circles. Like you get triggered by something, right? Like he has different stacks for different emotions. And instead of you like react, later on, as you work through it, right, as you keep on stacking and stacking and stacking, you are able to then identify how, like, why you get triggered, right? You're able to
Mhm.
identify, oh, this is this, like, no, it's actually not her fault. It's actually
Right.
like this belief that I have that is making me react this way, that is causing this, right? And then as you
Yep.
work through all of those stacks, you like heal, I guess. I
Yeah.
mean, he doesn't call it heal. Maybe you would call it heal. He calls it, I don't know how he calls it, but
Mhm.
I don't know. But yeah, it sounds,
Yeah,
man.
there's a Dickinson's process as well that, you know, Tony Robbins used. I've been through that a few times. But I can give you an example of, you know, a personal story for the
Yeah,
interview
let's
process that will
go.
really illustrate how this works. So it wasn't too long ago. It was probably about 6 months ago that I'd spent years as an art developing my Instagram account, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one day, this hacker managed to get my password
Okay.
and went in and switched my Instagram account to his and put a new password in. So my whole IG account had just been hacked and I'm locked out of it. I can't get back into my own account. So you can imagine, you know, how triggering that was for me. Yeah, it brought up a lot of stuff and specifically like rage and anger. It was like, man, how dare someone take this from me? And so then what happened is right after that, right after it got hacked, they start contacting me because they had my phone number through WhatsApp. These scammers literally are like, hey, you better answer the phone, you better respond, or we're going to delete your account. And then I still didn't respond yet. And they're like, we're going to put porn on your account and all these threats. Right. And so I could have just answered the phone and dealt with it in my Incredible Hulk anger
Yeah.
rage. Right. And that would have gotten an entirely different result than how I chose to deal with it, which was there are some emotions coming up right now. There's like a volcano of rage and anger that's coming to the surface. This is my medicine. So I can take this through the inner peace process. And as I did, I noticed it was showing up in my solar plexus, right? So right in the center, it felt like super constrictive. It was like my center of power, personal power, right? So that was giving me clues. And then I tuned into that specific flavor of anger and rage. And that brought me back to, oh, yeah, of course, when I was 16 and my junior year in high school, I'm part of the epic basketball team. But this year, when I was 16, my coaches had it out for me. And I went on to look at after tryouts on the roster and my name's not on there. And like, there must be a mistake. I'm one of the best players on the team. And we'd been playing together for years with these guys. And so I go into the coach's office and both of them are standing there, but they can't look me in the eye. And I said, there's got to be a mistake. I'm not on the list. And they said, yeah, you know, we had to make a tough decision and, you know, we're really sorry. And I was like, you're sorry. And I remember like that rage came up and I literally wanted to pick up their entire desk and throw it through the wall like Incredible Hulk. I remember this fierce rage. And instead of doing that, I held it down and I stormed out of I said some cuss words and got really upset and then stormed out of the room and went through all these feelings. And in that experience, I didn't fully get to express that anger and that rage. So it was still energy trapped in my solar plexus that then was triggered more recently. This 6 months ago experience was giving me the opportunity to go all the way back to that. And now as my current self through this process, I get to hold space and go through this experience again with my 16-year-old. So now he's got me, a future self, supporting him through that, validating his feelings and like, man, that's totally effed up. And how dare they do that? And it's completely valid to feel rage and anger from someone taking that away from you, your whole basketball career in high school, And so I got to support my younger self through that until he felt heard, validated, and
Love.
loved and supported. And then he's integrated back into my heart, and notice how then I tune in and that energy had started metabolizing in my system. And then I recognized where the story was intertwined. My 16-year-old was like, this crap can just be taken from me. Like something that's so important to me can just be taken away on a whim like that. So it was like this loss of power story, that like someone can just take my power away like that. And so that story would continue showing up until I go into the source of it, which is why this was an opportunity for me to go through that inner peace process, resolve that for myself. Now I'm in a neutral state and I can go into actually answering the phone with these scammers. And so this is how that conversation went. Because instead of being Incredible Hulk, I took ownership of the emotion, resolved it, and the story that went along with it. Now, so what? It's an Instagram account. Yeah, I'd be sad if I lost it. I put all this time and effort into it. It's my art.
They have no power over you.
Yeah, but I'm like neutral, right? Mm-hmm. So then I go into this conversation and I lead the conversation. I answer the phone. I said, listen, how long have you been running these scams? And the guy's like, he goes, bro, years. And I said, well, how many people have you scammed out of money and held their accounts ransom? And he's like, hundreds, bro. And I said, well, do you believe in karma? And he said, yeah. And I said, good. Then you know that this is going to come back to you in some way. Karma is action, and every action has a reaction. And so this is going to come back to you, what you're doing to other people. And I said, we can resolve this right now. You can literally do the right thing and give me my password back and we'll call it good and go separate ways. And he's like, no, I need money. And I was like, what do you need money for? And he goes, I have kids and I have, a table. I have to put food on their table. And so now, like, okay, he used to feel like this parasite. Now I'm talking to a human being and I can level with them. Like, okay, I have a daughter too, so I can understand that. Do your kids know what you're doing, how you're scamming people to get money? He goes, no. And I go, well, eventually they're going to grow up and know, right? He's like, yeah. Wouldn't you be rather get to share something that you're proud of doing and get to be, contributing to humanity instead of taking away from it like a parasite? Wouldn't that be a little more pride in sharing that with your kids? And he's like, yeah, but I just need money. And I was like, how much do you need? And he goes, $500. He's like, well, there's no way I'm giving you $500 for this. So that's off the table, but I will make a deal with you. If you agree to these three terms, one, I give you $100 and you make sure that money goes towards your kids, putting food on the table. Two, you erase all the information you have on me. We never speak again. And three, you look into actually doing something that can contribute to society and a job that you can actually be proud of. Deal? And he said, $300. I said, no deal. And I hung up on him. And here I am at the park with my wife and my daughter, while this conversation's going on, and I'm still in a neutral state. So I'm cool with whatever happens. I wanted to let him marinate on that. And so I get back to playing with my daughter and he's calling and calling. So eventually I pick up again and I say, all right, last chance, same deal. You can get $100 or nothing, if those three conditions apply. And he's like, okay, it'll be crypto. And I said, that's fine. I have crypto. And he said, well, prove it to me. I said, all right, here's, proof of an account in crypto. I said, now send me the password. Now I've showed you this, you show me that. So he gives me the password back. Quickly, I change the password and have my account back. And then I ghost him and up. So he hasn't gotten any money yet. And he just gave me my account back. And I'm at the park with my wife giving high fives.
And he's acting like the Incredible Hulk.
Right. Now he's having a rage fit because he's texting and, calling and yelling. And I let that marinate for well over an hour or so because I wanted him to have his medicine. And that was how fast his karma was working. So he got to experience what he's doing to all these people. And so I tuned in and I'm like, well, course, I'm a gentleman, a man of my word. So I'm not going to leave him hanging. I'm going to, follow up on my end of the deal, but I wanted to give him some time to go through his medicine, his emotions, and to get to really experience what he's doing to other people. And so I wired him the money and never talked to him again, parted ways, and I gained lots of lessons and blessings. And I hope that he did too.
That's doubtful, but yeah, I hope he did too.
Right.
Yeah, man. So, man, it's been incredible. You've shared so much wisdom. What you have got going on, like, is literally life-changing. The ability to not control, but be able to, how do you call it?
To alchemize. So alchemize is like any challenges, struggles, we can literally dig in and find the lessons and the blessings and the gifts that we can find in that as to how it's happening for us. So
instead of just reacting. Yeah.
Exactly. And then when you get good at this work, it's like every challenge or trigger that comes up, you can put on that lens of curiosity and see, wow, this is a big challenge. So there's going to be some big golden nuggets to discover here about myself, some big gifts at the end of this, initiation, I call it.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
So really quick, I end my interviews with 5 questions that I ask to everyone. But before I do that, I want to ask you about the laser focus method that you got, that you have. What is that all about?
Yeah. So this was inspired when the pandemic first came out, because so many people were recognizing like, wow, we are consuming more than we're creating as a human population. And so this was an opportunity to share some of my gifts, what's worked for me so well about working smarter than harder. And I put it all together in a, 2 video, it's 3 hours total, training to retrain the mind through some breath work and meditation techniques so that you can work smarter than harder and gamify intrinsic systems so that you don't need to seek externally for validation, for, stuffing and consuming. You can step into creator consciousness and begin to share some of those amazing gifts, talents, and passions that each person uniquely has and here to share the world with. So that program has helped a lot of people step back into that alignment with their purpose and create a life by design instead of by default. And it's only like $222 for the entire program, and it's a game changer. It's helped a lot of people use that laser focus technique to cut through distractions, conquer procrastination, and produce more than they're consuming. So highly recommend it. It's a great place to start. If you're feeling out of alignment with your purpose, if you're just feeling stuck or feeling a lot of anxiety, then practice these mind training tools. It's like Jedi tools for productivity. And so there's a ton in there. It's a great program.
That's amazing, man. I will definitely, man, I'm very like, so right now that I was thinking about support, like I was thinking about that and support, financial. No, it's not, well, everyone has money problems growing up, right? But no, I don't think it's that. I think I've been over that. But support, yeah, it is support because I don't feel supported, right? But I've shifted my mindset towards not needing anyone's validation and not needing anyone's support, but yet I don't feel supported, right? And that's what I want, to feel supported, but I don't need it, but that's what I want. So, so then, yeah, it might be that.
That's it. And so now you're beginning to see some of the lessons and blessings in it and recognizing that's why a lot of men can relate to this. You're certainly not alone, right? I went through this initiation of like, no, we're men. We need to do it on our own. And like when our stuff comes up, we go to the man cave and like process it on our own and wait till we're like superhero status to come back out and help others again. But we don't have to do it alone. It's how great does it feel to be able to support someone else that you love when they're in need, right? When they need your support. We love to show up for them in that way, and that builds a stronger connection. So why would we be selfish and deprive others
from that
the opportunity to support us and connect with us? And that's why it takes courage to ask for help and ask for support. And that's been a huge initiation early in my journey. And yeah, so there's a lot of, that's some of the action steps you can take, is build that support foundation, reach out to those people that you know you can trust, and let them know, hey, I'm really could use some help with this aspect of life, or really having a hard time here. Are you available to support me through that? Or
Nice.
reaching out for mentors and coaches. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's why, like, whatever your intuition brings you to, whoever it calls you to, I highly recommend taking that action step, because it'll save you tons of heartache. And those mentors, coaches, support systems can help navigate you through avoiding a bunch of landmines, you know, and find any shortcuts to manifesting the life you deserve.
Amazing, man. Great insights.
Mm-hmm.
So the first question that I want to ask you is, how old are you right now? That's not the question, but how old are you right now?
43 years young.
Damn, man. You look really awesome. You look like 28 to 34.
I appreciate that. Thank you, brother. Yeah, it's I'm running on source energy, so I feel good.
Oh, I want to tap into that energy as well, man. Man, I'm going to be working with you, man. I really like you. So let's see. So the first question is, what was the first question? Oh yeah. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self if you could?
Awesome.
43? Really?
Yeah.
That's
43.
amazing, man. So I come from a culture, Mexican culture, in which once you hit 40, you're done, right? But I'm happy to be able to like have broken that story time and time again after doing more than 100 episodes, because I've gotten a lot of podcasts with people who are 40, even 50, and even 60, and they're like on fire, right? So yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah,
so,
it's good to pull that weed, that belief system, because you know what we believe becomes our truth. So if you hit 40 with that belief system, then all of a sudden you're done.
Yeah.
Right? If you pull that subconscious belief and replace it with, man, life just keeps getting better. That's been my experience. And so, you know, I feel younger every year, and that serves me well. My cells are responding to that nicely, you know, so I might have a few gray hairs here and there, but I like the salt and pepper look. So it worked for Sean Connery. And so to answer, what was the question again?
What advice would you give your 20-year-old self if you could?
Here's what I would tell my 20-year-old, because my 20-year-old was like, I numbed everything out. I was like, before that, I was a teenager. I was a loose cannon. I would overreact to things, and I didn't like that about myself. So literally one day I just like flipped the switch and was like, I control my emotions. I'm not letting anything mess with me. I'm just stoic, and I can, you know, move through anything. Nobody can trigger me. And that served me well to a degree. But then, you know, I ended up like a balled up, tight mess of aches and pains from all that energy that I hadn't processed. So to go back to my 20-year-old, I would just share with him that instead of always trying to feel better, right, with biohacks and all the amazing latest tools and gadgets to feel better temporarily, allow myself to feel more. Okay. And by feeling the depths of even heavy emotions that want to arise and move through me, then it's only temporary. Then we can discover those lessons and blessings in the depths of the worst sorrow or grief or guilt or shame. And that too can move and pass instead of holding it as 3D debris. So that would have been great advice for my 20-year-old. I would have loved to hear that back then, that it was okay as a man to feel more instead of always trying to feel better, and that it was okay to be seen in that. You know, it took me a long time to find my tears because of the belief and story that men shouldn't cry because that's a sign of weakness and we have to be strong. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Great advice, man. 100%. That's amazing. The second question is, what is the mindset shift that you've had? I don't know why I'm forgetting my questions. What is the mindset shift that you've had that you can share with us that you think has contributed to where you are right now and the success?
I'll try to make this quick, but it is understanding and utilizing the reticular activation system. Ooh. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So retina, for those that aren't familiar, reticular means retina. Our lens of our eyes at which we see our reality through is activated, right? So this is always occurring in our brain, whether we're aware of it or not. It's like a radar system. It's like when you see the brand new cool Tesla, in red, and you're like, that's the car I want. And then all of a sudden you start seeing them everywhere, right? One driving next to you or in the magazine. It's not that they weren't there before. It's that now it's on your reticular activation. So when we're unaware of this, then we literally, it's like you wake up and you declare you're having a rough day because you didn't get a good night's sleep. Then you've set your reticular activation to finding evidence of it being a rough day. So you stub your toe, spill your coffee, you're ungrounded, someone steals your parking spot. All these things keep occurring because it's set to that. And so our mind is always filtering these thousands of stimuli that are coming in every moment, and use that to our advantage just by using intention, being more intentional. So it's been a game changer.
That's why, now that I've wanted to dive deeper into the metaphysical and emotional stuff, I like my last 10 podcast guests have been talking about that.
Exactly. Great example.
Mindset, map. So do you have any advice, tactic, or strategy to help people gain more clarity around what they want, who they are, where they're going?
Yeah, absolutely. So clarity equals confidence.
Okay.
So clarity can accelerate your manifestations, what you want to create, your goals, all that. And I recommend the inner peace process, because even if you're in a state of the opposite of clarity, which is like confusion, if you can acknowledge that and just honor that right now I'm experiencing some confusion, then that can actually be exciting, because that means you're moving into the unknown of something that you're not familiar with before. So that's a sign of growth. And if you can accept that and understand the lessons and blessings in that, then it's just temporary. And what's on the other side of confusion? More clarity, right? And so that was what I gained by finally sitting and surrendering into all those heavy emotions that I didn't want to feel and I was stuffing and escaping from. On the other side of that is clarity, when we allow and accept that energy to move through us.
So that's what the inner peace process is all about, to help you navigate. It's not only once, right? It's a tool that you can use for the rest of your life to help you navigate all your emotions and all the events coming up in your life that are triggering you.
Right. So I guide people through it so they have an experience of it. I'm all about experiential learning. And then they gain some confidence with it. And I give them the take-home version of it, which is, my intellectual property. And that the step-by-step process that people can, literally anytime you're triggered, you can either go to the fridge and try to stuff it, take a pill, do all the mind's band-aids, or you can take out this process, take it step by step and go to the source of it and resolve it for yourself, but not only yourself. This is how we can heal generational wounds, old conditioned programs, subconscious negative beliefs, so that our kids don't have to perpetuate those generational wounds, those old programs.
That's amazing, man. How much is that worth? Like, you can't put a price on it, right?
Yeah. How much would that be worth to you?
Yeah. So that's why you're like so calm, because you've worked through all of these triggers.
Right. And that's our natural state, I believe, is joy, inner peace, and anything that comes in the way of that is worth taking a look at and honoring and learning from.
Nice.
So that it can move through us and we can reach higher states of bliss and joy. And so
awesome. So man, Motion, what is the habit that you have that you think has contributed to your success? One habit.
Play. I call play a habit because I have a healthy celebration that I create intrinsic reward systems with. This is in the laser focus method as well. And when you're creating intrinsic reward systems and gamifying things with play and, activating your natural endorphins, the serotonin, all the neurotransmitters that feel really good in our body, then you're tapping into your own supply. And then you don't need to seek those feelings externally by over consuming even information or food or supplements and all the things when you're self-sourcing it. So I use play and dance and singing and fun with my daughter as a healthy celebration, or a reward that I create, those intrinsic reward systems that keep me on that path to always building momentum and developing those good, healthy habits.
Nice. Awesome. The next one is around measure. So what do you think about measuring and tracking?
Yeah. Pearson's law, he discovered, that which we measure, we can improve. That which we measure and record, we can improve dramatically.
Exponentially.
And so it's great to have a form of measure. I like the first three of the acronym with SMART goals, specific, measurable, and attainable. I think those are the key ingredients to any goals or commitments or agreements that you set with yourself, making sure that it's attainable and measurable and specific. Because if you're not, then you're chipping away. If you're not holding those agreements and you're not holding those commitments with yourself, you're chipping away at your integrity, your confidence, and self-trust. And that allows the voice of self-doubt to get really loud. So on the other end of that, when you build short wins, healthy celebrations, then you can build massive momentum to building your self-trust muscle by holding agreements that are attainable, measurable, and specific. And then you're flexing your self-trust muscle every day, just like you go train at the gym, so that you have full integrity. You're a gentleman. Anything you say you're going to do is as good as done.
Amazing. Man, I've loved, like, you shared a lot of wisdom. I wasn't even able to ask questions because of how much, how much knowledge you dropped on me and on us, right? The audience. So I loved it. I'm going to go back, hear this. And, I'm very passionate about healing and all of that. So yeah, I'm going to work with you, man. I'm going to end up working with you. And, I bet someone else out there listening to this is also like, that's what I need. Like, I feel, I don't know, stuff, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I need. So if people, thought about that, if people love what you're all about, where should they find you?
Yeah. So real easy. My website is charlesclay.coach. So you can check out all the services I provide there, the latest offerings. You could even go to the bottom and subscribe to my newsletter and get a free alignment activation that I guide. It's a 22-minute video great for good morning rituals. You can use it anytime you're feeling out of alignment. So that's an amazing gift and a great place to start. And then if you feel called to anything we discussed today, then you can find me on Instagram as well, charlesclay.coach, and just shoot me a DM. I'm always happy to connect with everyone and reach out. Just say, inner peace process or laser focus method or whatever resonates with you, so I can share more of that with you. And if it feels aligned, then we can dive deep on this and give you some tools that you can use to stay empowered
for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I really appreciate this. I had a lot of fun, and thank you, man. See you later.
Yeah. What a pleasure and an honor. Thank you, brother.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms